Hey guys, so today we're going to talk about 4 tips for practicing scales. Now obviously scales are one of the best ways to develop your technical facility, so we really want to make sure that we're going about it the best way possible. So today we're going to use one scale exercise as a reference for all of these tips that I've learned over the years for getting the most out of your scale practice. And so first let's just go through that exercise. So the way this exercise works, we just walk up a few degrees of the scale. We're just stepping up from 1 to 5. Then from there, we go down 2 more degrees. So we go down to the 3rd. Then after that, we jump back to the root, the original note. So that's going to be the end of the first measure. And what we do from there is we just continue that same exact diatonic shape from each degree of the scale. So next, we'll start on the 2nd degree. And so on and so forth through the end of the exercise. If you want to do that same exercise going descending, all you have to do is just step up to the 4th instead of the 5th. So you end it a little bit earlier. Then walk back down to the original note from there. And then after that, you're going to skip down and diatonically enclose the next degree downwards to continue the exercise descending. This is a really great exercise because it uses a very practical, realistic shape that we use all the time as jazz improvisers. And by moving it up each degree of the scale, it essentially gives us a very melodic sequence that we're using very elaboratively. So if you want to get this exercise written for you in all 12 keys, that's available at jazzlessonvideos.com in our technique combo package, which has a bunch of PDF packages and 2 of which actually have that exercise written in all 12 keys. Most notably the Scales for Jazz Improvisation PDF package, which has a bunch of different scale exercises written in all 12 keys. And it's a really cool resource because it also has a master list of all the scales that you'll ever use in jazz with chords that correspond to each scale. So that's a really great resource to check out. And that master list is written in all 12 keys. So now that we have the scale exercise picked out as a reference, let's use it and go into some of these tips that I find have really improved the way that I practice scale. So the first concept we're going to check out is going to be a rhythm trick. Now with this trick, what you're going to do is you're going to isolate 50% of the motions that you use in this exercise, and you're going to put 50% of the exercise into double time. Then once you've done that, you're going to flip it and you're going to put the other half of the exercise into double time. So here's how that works. So it's actually going to be pretty simple. All we're going to do is we're going to take the first note and we're going to make it longer. So the first note is going to be a dotted 8th note. And the second note is going to be a 16th note. And we're going to continue that rhythm throughout the full exercise. So to apply this rhythm to the exercise, it's going to be really simple. We're just going to take every downbeat and make it a dotted 8th note, and every upbeat and make it a 16th note. So it falls a little later. That's going to sound like this. Now you're going to want to make sure that you exaggerate that rhythm as much as possible. So you want the long note to be really long and the short note to be really short and as close as possible to that next downbeat. The reason why is you don't want to fall into just a swing triplety type of rhythm. You really want to make sure that you're subdividing with the 16th notes. All right, now from there, let's do the other half of this exercise. So this gets harder. Now we're going to play the 16th note on the downbeat, and the upbeat is going to be that dotted 8th note. So we're going to flip the exercise around. That's going to sound like this. Now that exercise is going to be a lot harder. It's really easy to switch that rhythm around. So you want to make sure that you're always playing the short note on the downbeat. So now we're gonna go to that same eighth note exercise where we're not changing up the rhythm, but we're gonna play it in double time. Now you'll see this exercise can really work magic, especially when you're doing it in the harder keys, like F sharp and D flat. It's really gonna iron a lot of kinks out, and you'll be surprised at how quickly you can move an exercise into double time if you use this trick. All right, so the next exercise is really simple, but it's something that people really forget to do. So the next thing that we want to do is make sure that we're keeping our fingers as close to the key pearls as possible. And in particular, making sure that we're even curling our fingers as well. So now I'm going to play the exercise again. And what I'm going to do is I'm literally going to keep my fingers curled and on the key pearls this whole time. Check it out. Definitely going to help big time when you're trying to increase speed, and it's also just going to make you play a lot cleaner in general. All right, so the third thing that we want to think about is going to be articulation. Now in general in jazz, whenever you're going up, you want to actually articulate the downbeats, and when you're going down, you articulate the offbeat. Now this is contrary to the popular myth that is that you always play or articulate the upbeats in jazz. That's not true. When you're going up in general, you're going to do what a lot of people call a duden articulation. That's because you're literally going duden-do on the reed just as you would on the roof of your mouth. So for the offbeat, you end up actually sort of ghosting the note by putting your tongue on the reed and sort of muting the note a little bit. So you really want to push from the diaphragm to make sure that the note still speaks. So now I'm just going to play 3 notes with a duden articulation so you can understand what that sounds like. And so now I'm going to play the whole exercise slow and really pay attention to my articulation here. So as you could tell, when I was going up, I was doing the duden-do, and then when I came back down, I would go duden-do da-oo-da-oo-den. And then the very last note would be an in order to help me articulate the downbeat of the next bar. That type of articulation, if you get it down well, you'll be able to continue articulating when you're going really fast. A lot of people ask me how I articulate really fast lines. The reality is I'm actually articulating it the same as when I play medium tempo lines. All I'm doing is just maybe lightening up on the articulation a little bit, but I'm still spitting out all those same articulations. That would sound like this. So using this type of phrasing is going to help you big time with your phrasing in general, and especially when it comes to playing fast. It's going to make your fast lines groove more and just sound a lot more crisp. All right, so the last tip is going to be how you use the metronome. It's great to use the metronome on every beat, but you don't want to only use it on every beat. I also highly recommend dividing it in half, so you're using it on just beat 1 and 3, or even just using it on beat 1. That way you're providing a lot of the internal time and not just relying on the metronome for consistency. If you want, you can even put the metronome on just beat 1 of every 2 bars, or even eventually every 4. Here's an example of the metronome on beat 1 of just every 2 bars. So it's just going to be 1 every 8 beats. And I'm going to use the exercise that we've been using throughout this video. So as you can hear, I was pretty locked in, but I was still rushing just a little bit. That's something that is going to really be exposed when you're subtracting the amount of beats that the metronome is giving you. All right, guys, thanks so much for watching. I hope these tips will benefit you in your practicing, just like they've benefited myself in my studies. And make sure to ask a question if you've got any questions or comments for future videos. Always love to know what you guys would like to see me cover, and hopefully I can hit that soon. So thanks again. Make sure to subscribe if you haven't already, and I'll see you guys next time.